Web Forbes said that we're as big as Recastly, which make me laugh a lot. But as you probably know, we were originally a Facebook games developer dedicated only to social games. And that's one of the reasons why I'm here today to talk about social games in general. But that's not the only reason I'm here. The other reason I'm here is because I have a very big mouth and tend to talk a lot of stuff that I shouldn't. And they usually get me in trouble. But anyway, let's go ahead. Back in February when Matt invited me to be here today talking to you, one of the things that he spoke about and suggested I shared with you what was my vision for social networks and social games in the time frame of 3 to 5 years' time. Well, I replied back to him that if he knew someone who knew what would happen in 3 years' time, that guy should be under heavy medication, because you cannot really tell what the games industry will be in 6 months' time, much less in 3 years' time. Seriously, 3 years ago, Facebook was the rage, right? Its top game alone, Cityville, was bigger in a single month in terms of people playing it than all the PlayStation 3s and 360s added together, right? Fast forward today, I was answering a question about, is Facebook games really dead? What's going on? Is it the end for social games? How is Zynga shares at $3? Why is EA Playfish leaving social games space? What the hell happened in such a small time space? So do I have an answer what's going to be like the relationship between social games platforms in the future and the game developers? Absolutely not. This is down to what social networks decide to do in the next 3 and so years. And what I have learned in my past 3 years working with Facebook and other social networks is that they are very, very unpredictable, to say the least. But I do have a few elements that anyone considering this question, the future of social games, could probably find useful, and I will share with you today. And also have a very strong opinion, that's a personal opinion, of what do I think social games should be in the near future. I hope I'm right, and I hope it does be like that, but I'm not sure. Anyway, so I just wanted to set the score straight with when people say social games, they think about Farmville, Cityville, and all those games they played on Facebook, and that's quite different from what I see as social games. For me, social games have been around for a very long time, more than 6,000 years, way before Facebook was invented. In fact, with very few exceptions like Solitaire, which is a game that you play by yourself, most games in existence are social games because in order to play with them, you need another human being to interact with. It was only in the 60s and the 70s that computers came along and became competent enough to fill in for the other player, for the opponent. Before that, you had to play with someone who was probably a family member, a friend, or at least someone who got introduced to you so you could start playing that game. So social games for me is not something that is played on Facebook, but something that you are playing with someone that matters for you, not a stranger. And that is where social and multiplayer branch out. Social games are multiplayer by nature, but multiplayer not necessarily with friends. You can play with strangers that you match up in a lobby on the internet and you go on to play. Social games are not like that. You need to be socially linked to that people. These are people that matter to you. This is important because playing with people that matter to you is far more powerful and entertaining than playing with strangers and by yourself. It's actually far more safe, that enables you to work on game designs that you couldn't do with strangers because you cannot always rely on the goodwill between strangers. More usually than not, because they are social, you are well inclined to share those experiences with those around you, and that's where the virality comes from. You can have artificial virality, like, oh, you have to share this with your friends, so you get a new package of energy and you can carry on playing, but most of the time, truly social games mean that I have such a great experience playing this thing that I want my friends to experience it with me, right? Because of this powerful aspect of playing with friends, when MySpace and Facebook came along a few years ago, starting to offer their social graph, meaning how you're connected to your friends, for game developers to use that in games, many, including myself, were absolutely extasiated and very, very happy about that, right? I embraced it with no reservations whatsoever. For me, that was the future. I could not even begin thinking of the possibilities of having all my friends readily available in that platform, and I could just play with them. They no longer needed to have the same console as I did. They no longer had to have the same game as I did, which are not only expensive, but differs a lot. I might be a 360 game, you might be a PlayStation game, I might be something else, right? So the overlap between me and my friends in the past have been very little. Now with social, with all my friends in there, and just requiring a half a decent PC to be played with, it meant that boundaries were just removed. I could play with my mom if I wanted to. All that she needed was a PC. And this was the vision of the future of games that I share with a lot of people and became so enticing for us. And since this is rooted on the human nature itself, it was a no-brainer. This couldn't go wrong. This so couldn't go wrong that I bet my professional future on it, leaving Jagex to join Playfish. And afterwards, I bet my future as an entrepreneur by leaving Playfish and starting my own studio in London with two good friends. It couldn't go wrong because it was so powerful. But it did go wrong. Right? As you see, I think that games were never part of the concept of social networks development. They were never the main drive behind social network development. Social networks is about you talking to your friends, you sharing events, you getting updates from people you don't see as often, right? Games on social networks kind of just happened. It happened before in many other platforms. This is not exclusive to social networks. I remember Sir Clive Sinclair saying that the ZX Spectrum would never be a games machine and insisting it was an educational machine when everybody bought that machine to play games at home 20 or 30 years ago. But anyway, so because games were not part of the DNA of social networks, they came kind of an afterthought to the people working on social networks or developing them. And as a result, a lot of changes started to happen to the social networks that started to affect the game negatively. Developers didn't see the future where these networks were heading, so they could build on confidence on these networks and invest on 3 to 4 years' time ahead of time. They had to create games that were 6 months in development and get it out there because they couldn't know what will happen the next day. And as a result of all this turmoil on the platforms, a lot of bad choices were made on both ends of the spectrum. So since in 2009, a myriad of changes took place on Facebook particularly that affected virality on a negative way, which in turn drove the cost of acquisition of players way, way up. It became very expensive for game developers to reach their players, to make them know that the game existed, and thus transform them into players. Facebook just overnight took 30% of their revenue. Nobody was expecting that. All of a sudden, my budget is 30 times smaller because I have to give 30% of my revenue to Facebook credits, the only payment on the platform. Likes no longer mean that I can speak to everybody who liked my page, but only a fraction of those, unless I sponsor the story for everybody to see. So these changes, piling on top of each other, created a story which was very difficult for developers to assimilate at the pace they came, and resulted now in a situation which is very, very difficult for anyone who is not the biggest and the most well-known in this platform to survive. Am I the only one who can see a massive and unfair conflict of interest on a situation where a platform that hosts your game, owns 30% of your revenues, controls the channels you are allowed to use, and then charges you for exposition inside their own channel, right? This is a massive conflict of interest that evolved over time. It was not like this when we started. And as a result, we saw many big developers just leave the platforms, actually some very successfully so, like Kabam, while others are still trying to figure out what to do next, like Zynga and Playfish and so on. You can see why many are saying the social games are actually dead, because it's very difficult to get in. And some of the people who are already in there, they were very successful in the past. Playfish was the second largest of Facebook 3 years ago. They're just leaving or scaling down what they're doing there. Look, if you read somewhere that EA is leaving, say, I don't know, the PlayStation 3 for good, you will ask, what the hell is going on there? Is the PlayStation 3 out of the line? Is it dying? What the hell is going on? That's big news. Whereas on Facebook, EA seems to be leaving the platform, and nobody's talking too much about that. And this is why some people think that the platform is dead. But that's not to say that they're dead, because there are very good people making very good money with very good games on the platforms, not just the games that we hoped that would be created 3 years ago. Just look at the astonishing success that King.com has with Candy Crush Saga, or Wooga has with the games that they have been doing for the past 4 or 5 years, especially now on mobile, which is fully integrated with Facebook. But you must remember that these guys are very big. They have been there for a long time, and they're very experienced and have a lot of bandwidth in terms of size of how many people doing what they need to be done. For newcomers, it's very, very difficult. It's not like someone like the guys who developed Faster Than Light, 2 guys in a bedroom that got kickstarted and got into the Steam and became a huge success, wiping out the competition on IGF awards and ranking up awards, can just crack into Facebook. I have never seen something like that happen. I might be wrong, but I have not seen yet. So it seems to me that this is Facebook as social games as the promise that I saw 3 years ago, or something that will revolutionize the game space, is now become something very insular that's not touching the rest of the game development industry as we see it, right? So this is the fun part. So what the hell is social games 2.0? Do they exist? The fundamental drive of people wanting to play with those who matter to them, which is essentially what social game is still there. Facebook or no Facebook, right? This will never go away. It's not down to us find ways to make this happen without relying on social networks or external partners that could change the rules while we're still in development. Because, you know, we don't develop websites and things that can only be made in a couple of weeks, but we develop things that take many, many months or at least years in the making. And every change of course midway the project hurts the creative team, hurts the end result, and hurts our potential to be business savvy. So until a very stable and open platform comes along that opens the social graph to us with no strings attached, that you can just simply have access to the players without having fear what's going to have in the future with those players that we are accessing, I think that we have to be less reliant on these platforms, be more reliant on the game design itself. So what lies in the future of social games and what these games should be like? I have made a small list, and I hope that I'm hitting the target with this. I'm not sure, but let's see what at least I believe needs to be in place to make what we call the next generation of social games. The first thing that we need to do is to drop altogether the sense of walled gardens. The reliance on closed networks for finding our friends and match our interests. Think about how many friends you have right now on Facebook that owns a PlayStation 3 or an Xbox 360. And what a fraction of those friends you actually have added inside those consoles as your friends, right? Those are people that you have lost in terms of ability to get in touch and share experiences with. Why are we doing that? There's no reason to do that. There's no reason why I cannot play my FIFA from the Xbox 360 with my friend's FIFA on the PlayStation 3. Why are we imposing these barriers on people? People are about sharing experience and playing games. They're not about putting up with barriers that we erect for them not to get together. As far as I'm concerned, I think that walled gardens in a world where people are most and most connected thanks to technology, but in social changes, is just a dumb idea. It goes against the grain of social and technological evolution, and we know that the history is paved with the literary corpses of people who try to resist evolution, right? Low barriers for the win. I dream of a day that my Android or my iOS device just have an API where I can just access all my friends right there. And we can build games upon that platform. So knowing that that will not be taken away from us, that will not be charged for, and they cannot be just shut down the next day, we will not know what to do with our game that rely on a feature that is no longer there. And this has happened, by the way, on social networks. Then they must absolutely be cross-platform. It doesn't matter where I am, what I'm doing right now, what I'm playing on. I should be able to connect with whoever I want, who are interested in the same type of game that I am. That's just human nature. If I see a movie that I like, I want to tell you that movie is awesome, you should go see it. You shouldn't be able to say, oh, I cannot see that movie. Why? Because my glasses are wrong, or I don't have the right hardware to watch that movie. Why should it be like that with games? Of course, different platforms have different challenges. a game that is cross-platform will be a little bit unplayable here, will not look as great there, but it doesn't matter. If designed from the ground up, respect each one of these devices' peculiarities, I'm sure that we can overcome this problem. We have overcome much bigger problems as creators in the past 20 years. This is just a small one. It shouldn't deter us from doing it. If you constrain people, you're constraining social. People are social, right? And if you constrain social, you're constraining the size that our games can touch people. So not doing cross-platform will section it and cordon you off a huge audience that could build a type of experience of sharing them. Third, tablets are king. They go around with the player. They are better to play than mobiles because they're slightly bigger and you can do better things on them. They are great for organic spread. If I have a game that I'm playing on my tablet right now and I enjoy it, and you are by my side and have a tablet, all I have to do is to show it. My friend downloads it and we start playing it together. That's this social game nirvana. No entry barriers. It's with me all the time. I spread the game naturally on the bar, on having chats, and so on. As they become more popular and get as accepted as mobile devices are accepted right now, this will change the landscape altogether. I really feel like you have no excuse for considering tablets as a big thing in the future, but you will be surprised at how much people out there still challenge them as a de facto platform. Just last week, the BlackBerry CEO said that he doesn't see tablets existing in 5 years' time, which is, I just don't understand where that comes from. From all the focus tests I have been doing in the past 2 or 3 years, putting people in a room with a mirror on the other side and we're observing how they play and giving them different devices. Once they find something they like on a tablet, they don't let it go. They don't change it for anything else. They can sit on their sofa with a game, they can take on a bus, their partners might be watching a film and they are there physically with them while playing the game they want. It's brilliant. It's too comfortable. It's too low entry barrier. There's no challenging that thing. I don't know what's around the corner, but from what I can see right now, tablets are really key. Free-to-play is the future. Actually, it's kind of the present already, at least on mobile devices. If you look at the top grossing charts, you will see that at least 8 out of the 10 of them will be free-to-play games, and there's a good reason for that. First is one less barrier for you to experiment a game, to enter that market and try the game for yourself. You don't have to pay up front, right? And this is something very important because as we grow older, we are getting detached from the next generation that is coming to replace us as gamers, or at least work around us as gamers. I plan to go to my grave playing games, but anyway. They take free stuff for granted. We have given them a lot of free stuff, very good free stuff, in the past 2 years on iOS devices and so on. And they see 69p as a very expensive thing. They're wrong, right? 69p is very cheap. You should not really be considering the price of a coffee against the price of a game, but they do. That's the fact. And to turn that around would be very difficult. This is why I challenge that free-to-play is probably the best solution for you getting discovered and you maximizing your revenues. It's not easy to do. Free-to-play is much more easy to do from than a premium perspective, but I think it would be very difficult for you not to rely on small niches unless you go free-to-play. And lastly, more important, is something I keep on banging about. It is about sharing emotions through the medium of the game, right? Counter-Strike, for instance, a very old game, but it was great not just because of its gameplay, because there were other games as good as or even better than Counter-Strike in terms of gameplay back then. It was good because you could step behind your friend and stab him with a knife without even firing a shot, and gloat and say, "I just killed you, knife, die." And that was the shared experience. Just think about how many communication tools were built around that game, or games similar to that, to enable clans and people to chat to one another, to try to make that game more social. That's a social game. Minecraft, which David Putt mentioned, is a social game. It is a massive social game. You shape worlds with your friends. You share your creations with your friends, even if they're not online at the moment. I built something big, which 10 minutes later they come, they see, "Oh, great, oh, this is just dumb, you wasted all our gold in this shit." And it goes like that. It's a social game by nature. So, and yet these games don't rely on social networks. They don't ask you to give energy. Ask your friend for energy. Don't ask for your pet to be helped with a friend. and people talk about these games because they share experience. It's meaningful to me. I want people to share these games. So channels help make a very good social game bigger. And in the back on the day on the Facebook 3 years ago, they filled in for bad design as well. Because everybody was there so entry level that you could create games that would say, oh, please click here and I get something free for that click. But that's not as powerful as proper social design. Even Surgeon Simulator, which is essentially a single-player game that we developed without thinking too much about it, became social because people want to share how awkward and how inadequate they are at making surgery, right? This game, I don't think you can read that, but it has 1 million videos posted on YouTube with this team. 1 million videos. Some of these videos have 6 million views each. This is a social phenomenon. It's not for nothing that Forbes said it is Rick Astley all over again. So isn't this social? Isn't this even more social than asking your friend to click here to give me energy? Of course it is. These people are sending a message with which one of these videos to people who matter to them, their friends, their family, their audiences. And their audiences rank in the millions. And once they see games that their opinion formator or the guy they respect are playing, they want to play the game as well. So what are social games 2.0? I believe that they are games that are thought of from day one as social, built as social, to make people know that while playing together, they will be sharing something meaningful, an experience they want to remember and they want to live up as a group. And then, if you have the opportunity, and you should, you plug this experience into every single social channel that is available to you. It really doesn't matter if it's Twitter new deep linking, which by the way is a good thing, so Facebook Open Graph, Game Center achievements with scores, it really doesn't matter. What matters is the game. These channels are there to help you spread the word more easily, but you should concentrate on the game and make sure that if you have the chance to plug in these channels, do so as much as you can because they facilitate how people spread the word. And this is the big change that I wanted to talk about between old social games and new social games. Where old social games were built on platforms which are social on Facebook, you deployed your game there, you used all the channels that Facebook offered. These new social games, they use these channels as spreaders, as amplifiers, rather than a foundation stone. And this is a big shift that not everybody's quite getting. When YouTube fill in for something that Facebook doesn't do, enabling a game to be spread, it means that these platforms are now serving games rather than games having to be built on top of these platforms. I would love when I can integrate Open Graph on Android 5 or 6 if it comes, that I can just plug a game in there. That will facilitate things and make it spread. But just the fact that you have created a game that will spark that interest from the player, when that changes come along, if it comes along, you just have to plug in and the world is yours, right? So, shared experience, stories are the root of social, right? And if you focus on being creative, on building something that builds upon human nature rather than technology, which, by the way, is a commodity, like Egyptians were doing 6,000 years ago, I'm sure that the new generation of social games we can make will make those in 2010 to look like peanuts. 100 million, that's nothing. We can make something much bigger than that, much better than that. Platforms will come and go, features will come and go, rules will change. People who are making money today won't make money tomorrow. The more, the merrier. But remember that people will always be there for a good experience, and they're willing to share that experience for those who matter with them. If you build on that, I cannot see how you can fail, and I cannot see how you're not future-proof. Thank you. I would really like to enjoy taking questions from you, so you can tell me something that will unravel the whole thing and make me look like a fool. I got the ball.
I'll throw the ball. Thank you very much, Henrique. Right, well, any questions? Ooh. Oh, thank you. There you go.
Thank you. I saw that you had a lot of views from PewDiePie viewers and other sort of YouTube Let's Players. Now, those are casual viewers, and they mostly watch the videos for the commentary itself. How did you see that converted into sales or downloads or plays?
Directly correlated, strongly so.
Okay.
It varies between the channels and the people, PewDiePie has a very big audience, right? People follow him, and he makes a joke out of it. But the fact that you have 1 million videos posted means that that effect was amplified, and people try to replicate that effect somehow. So for that alone is important. The second aspect is that you get a chance to see the game in action. I couldn't buy an ad like that, right? I could not put money for that to happen. And that is really, really powerful. I wish I could say it was intentional or planned. It wasn't. No, it just happened to us. This was a game that we did in 48 hours during a global game jam, and then we developed into a bigger product. It just snowballed out of control. It was not something that we planned it would go this way. The things that we planned didn't do well.
Thank you. Great. Anybody else?
Well, Andrew.
So yeah, I remember the viral videos going around with the Surgery Simulator, and it was just hilarious. So you did build it into a bigger product, and you did manage to monetize it. Talk about how you managed to go off that incredible press buzz that you had.
Well, we realized that it was a big press, a big thing, and so we had to act fast. If we waited 6 months, we'd probably have been gone away. So we did 48 days just to go with the theme of the 48 hours and launch it on Steam. And we actually launched on Greenlight Steam, which was the approval process. And as far as I can tell, was probably one of the fastest growing games ever on Greenlight. We got approved, I think, 2 weeks into it, with more than 80,000 people subscribed that would buy that game. And then we were launched on Steam 2 weeks ago. And having monetizing well, we've been selling much better than we could hope. And it's a good game, but it's because of the traction that it got out of people sharing it that is happening like that. Otherwise, it would be another indie niche game.
Okay, cool. Great. Thank you. Got Oscar at the back again. Whoa, of course.
Yeah, you're going to get a lot of this. I can't ask you any questions. You're just saying everything I say all the time. So, but I do want to
stole it all for you. Yeah.
Exactly. I do want to answer that first question though, because obviously, for those of you who know, I work on gameplay video recording software called Everyplay, and I mean, it's not just a pitch. This is just that we have some data about how effective video is, and if you look at 2 games, so Secret Exit, one of the first games we had, and Nimble Quest. Secret Exit got 10,000 videos uploaded in the first month. Nimble Quest got 10,000 videos uploaded in the first week of that game being released. We saw that both of those had about 50% of the videos shared on Facebook. And we saw that from Secret Exit, they got, I think it was they had 15 views for every Facebook share. So that's about 75,000 views. For Nimble Quest, they had 20 views for every Facebook share. So again, around 100,000 views. And for Secret Exit, they saw 12% going to download the game from those views, and Nimble Quest saw 20% going to download the games from the views. So, like I say, this is just me trying to show you data we've got. We know that gameplay recording is very effective, and I'm sure the similar numbers would apply to Facebook type capture.
Yeah, I would hope so. Yes.
Ooh. Well done. Right, we've got time for one last question. Oh, I need to push this down. Do you know, this was actually really good, was it, 6 years ago? It's a little bit worse for wear.
Hello. You said that the game that you planned didn't go so well, and Surgeon Simulator was sort of an accident and went very well. Does that reflect in the development process at all? Do you sort of say we should have a little internal game jam more often, that sort of thing, so that you can get better ideas in that way? Yeah, absolutely. Let me give you some insight on how we do things at the studio. We started as a very structured studio on games, on Facebook games. Our first game, Monstermind, actually went on to win BAFTAs and so on. It was a very good title, and it was very structured from day one. But as a studio culture, we have game jams constantly inside the studio. And one of the reasons why people go out in external game jams is because that usually take place in weekends, is because we don't do things like crunch or anything like that. 5, 6 p.m., unless there is a very last stage of a project, people should go home and relax, so they still have the energy to go in the weekends there. We also have what we call the green light process internally, which is everyone can come in with a game design idea. And we have a prototype team inside the studio who only works on these crazy ideas, usually with 2-week cycles. So every 2 weeks, we have a new game that we played.
Now we have like probably 20 or 20 so games that no one has ever seen outside the studio. Now our biggest challenge is how we put these games out there, because we might have another surgeon simulator lying there and we don't know. So that said, once this game became a project inside of 48 days, it became a formal project. It became something that has a producer and deadlines and milestones, etc. And that's important to keep it predictable, feature creep especially under control, because feature creep is one of the biggest problems of the industry, at least in our studio, because we have very many creative people. So it is important for us to create avenues for people to just throw stuff at the wall and see if it sticks. And I think that the future, the more we can do that, probably the more successful we will be.
And how do you decide which of those ideas actually sort of get invested in?
Everybody in the studio have a say on that. We have a small committee who reads through those ideas and see the potential. We have 3 status for it. It's red, just move on. Yellow, go back, do these things, and perhaps we can turn that into a prototype, and green, just go into prototype. It varies who have that say, but the gist, everybody can just make those ideas and put them forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Henrique, thank you so much for a really fascinating insight into social games. That was absolutely brilliant.